All right, one more thing here on Locked On Heat is brought to you by FanDuel. We're talking about the latest here on Kevin Durant. John Gambadoro, who's a radio host in the Phoenix area, plugged into the Phoenix Suns franchise, reported this week that Kevin Durant prefers a Texas team. Let's take a listen.
My belief is that Kevin Durant, as I've reported before, Kevin Durant prefers the Spurs. And I also think he prefers the Rockets. I think if he could have his way, he'd want to go to Texas, to either San Antonio or Houston. But there are other teams involved, and we've discussed the potential. He probably doesn't want to go in Toronto long term. Would Toronto still trade for him on a one-year deal? There are several teams that would do that.
Interesting stuff there. Let's stick to the Texas part of this. We obviously know that Kevin Durant went to school at Texas for a year, but that seems to be the connection there, I suppose, or maybe he's just look. We've heard the Spurs thing before. Bill Simmons has been on the record a couple different times saying he thinks Durant's going to end up on the Spurs. I guess the appeal is play with Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox as long as he's still there. A team with the number 2 pick. I don't know how much Durant actually cares about that, but it's a team that's building. Maybe he looks at them as, maybe he's like the final piece there. Also, not a tough media market. A respected front office, even with Greg Popovich out of the coaching ranks, he's still got a role in the front office. R.C. Buford is still there. So, again, one of those teams like Miami that's a pillar of stability despite the coaching change there. I could see that. And with Houston, I guess I could see the appeal also. They are literally, a lot of people feel like they are Kevin Durant away from really competing in the West. So, yeah, I guess I could see it.
Yeah, I suppose. It's also kind of like a 40% chance that you're going to land into Texas, considering the 5 teams that are rumored to be like at the very top. So if you could say a Texas team, I guess you kind of could cover your bases a little bit. But I mean, the Spurs are seeming more and more to me like a good option. And, they have a lot of things in place there that kind of help those chances. And it's hard to figure out exactly what Durant is looking for at this stage in his career. But I think given what's happened in Brooklyn, what happened in Phoenix, definitely stability has to be near the top, and I don't think you get much more stable than either Miami or San Antonio. And so you look at Wembanyama's presence there, the fact that they have another all-star in De'Aaron Fox, I think that would kind of swing in San Antonio's favor. If you had to choose between stability, let's say stability is their top priority for KD at this point in his career. He's looking at Miami, he's looking at San Antonio. Which of those teams is more than likely to progress to a championship level contention? I think San Antonio is the case just because of Wembanyama and his upside. But I guess it all depends on the coaching situation there too. I mean, is he capable of kind of bringing the best out of this team the way that Coach Popovich did? And I know Popovich is going to be there as an advisor, et cetera, but it just also seems like there are some questions about this team. This is very different than any other Popovich or any other Spurs team over the last 20-something years, just because Pop's not.
Yeah, and look, San Antonio won 34 games last year, right? And I understand that Victor Wembanyama missed a ton of the season with the blood clots, but he's also coming off those blood clots. People don't seem overly concerned about that, which is great. But De'Aaron Fox also missed a little bit of time. So, could they have gotten to the playoffs if everybody was healthy? Perhaps, right? You look at some of these teams in the play-in tournament in the West. Why not? Why couldn't they have gotten into at least the play-in tournament? And I do wonder if Durant looks at that and says, if we're all healthy, we'll be pretty good. And, we saw one all-star, to your point, already force his way to San Antonio in De'Aaron Fox. And when that was happening, there was rumblings around the league being like, he might not be the last one to do this. Like, people look at Victor Wembanyama as almost a golden ticket. Like, if I can hitch my wagon to this could be really interesting for my career. What's interesting to me about the Durant part, and the question I still have, is he'll be 37 years old when the season starts. And it's like, with De'Aaron Fox, I see it. With Durant, who's already won 2 championships, is a 2-time finals MVP, he doesn't really project as the kind of guy trying to hitch his wagon to a young player. Because I think the world of Wembanyama already, but does somebody like Durant look at somebody like Wembanyama and say he's ready to win a championship as the focal point of a roster? I suppose that's only a question that Kevin Durant can answer. The Houston part to me is interesting here too because of the Ime Udoka part. I always wondered, every NBA analyst likes to say Kevin Durant should go to Houston because he's what Houston is missing. And my point all along has been superstars don't typically look at it that way. They don't look at it the way that we all look at it from the outside, where we say, this team is a Kevin Durant away. The Kevin Durants of the world look at, what do you have that I need? That's what I'm looking for as somebody who's worried about my best interest. I'm not looking to be what you need. You need to be what I need. And I just, with the Houston part, as much as I love that Rockets team, and I love that Rockets team, is Kevin Durant like, I can't wait to play with Alperen Şengün? Is he like, I really want to be playing with Amen Thompson? Like those aren't the superstar big name players that typically attract other superstar big name players. People could say, oh, Ime Udoka. It's like, I don't know how much Kevin Durant cares about coaching based on his track record, in terms of at least his decision making, in terms of where he wants to go and what he does with that. So I don't know, maybe he loves Udoka in a way that he's never loved another coach, but the Houston part I don't buy as much, only because in terms of what Durant wants, but I buy them as a potential destination because they just have all the stuff that they could trade in Phoenix and literally just be like, as long as you're okay with playing in Texas, we're going to send you there. But any last thoughts on Houston before we get into my little conspiracy theory?
No, not really.
Okay. I've got a conspiracy theory. The real reason why Kevin Durant wants to play in Texas. I'm really excited for this one. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, today's One More Thing episode of Locked On Heat is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get a $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, conspiracy theory time. We know that Kevin Durant went to school at Texas, proud Longhorn. He stayed for just a year, but has gone back several times during his career. I think he's got like something named after him on campus. I think I have that right. It might be the practice facility or something like that. And then this past February, for the first time since leaving Texas in college, played a game as a member of the Phoenix Suns against the Spurs at the Moody Center, which is the Texas Longhorns basketball arena on the campus. And so the publication out there, the what's it called? The Daily Texan, did an interview with Kevin Durant. And there's some interesting quotes here that I want to read you. Kevin Durant, talking to the Daily Texan, says, they're going to come show out for the Spurs and a former Longhorn in myself, but I think if it was any team coming here, they'd be excited for basketball. The Spurs were playing a few games, or they were playing that game at Moody Center. He's insinuating that it doesn't matter who they were playing. People would come to watch the game as long as the Spurs were playing there. He says, quote, this city is a basketball city, and Moody Center is a fit for NBA basketball, end quote. This city is a basketball city. And if we know anything about Kevin Durant, he puts basketball on a pedestal. He puts it above all else. He's your favorite hooper's favorite hooper. And for him to call a city a basketball city is, I think, one of the highest compliments Kevin Durant could give to a city. And that really struck me in reading this article. But it's not the thing that struck me in terms of my conspiracy theory. Here's the conspiracy. I'm going to continue reading. Durant continues to maintain a vested interest in Austin and Texas sports, specifically women's basketball. He frequently supports Longhorn women's basketball and recently entered a bid to bring a WNBA team to Austin as the league tries to add a 16th franchise. Quote, we've always had major support here for women's basketball. We have one of the greatest coaches, some of the greatest players that come through here, a great talent in Madison Booker, all down the line, end quote. So here's the conspiracy, David. Kevin Durant might want to go to a Texas team. And we could talk about the basketball reasons, playing with Victor Wembanyama, the Houston Rockets, final piece, whatever. Is the real reason Kevin Durant seems interested in playing in Texas at this stage of his career, could be his last NBA team, is the real reason that Kevin Durant wants to play in Texas is that he wants to put down financial roots in Texas and get on the path to potentially owning a WNBA team in Austin is Kevin Durant, who has always done the alternative version of things. He didn't go to the Knicks, he went to the Nets. LeBron wants to own an NBA team in Vegas. Kevin Durant wants to own a WNBA team in Austin. Is Kevin Durant gung-ho about playing in Texas because he wants to get to know business-type people in Texas with roots in Texas, start putting an ownership group together here to potentially own a basketball franchise in the WNBA? I think this is an underreported story. I think this might be exactly why Kevin Durant wants to play in Texas, and it might be why the Miami Heat ultimately miss out on Kevin Durant.
Could be. I see it. I mean, a lot of red yarn being connected here from dots to dots, but at the same time, I see that possibility. I mean, we never know how these players operate, and one of the things that has always like eaten at him throughout his career, as good as he is, and as much as he's for whatever reason disrespected as a current NBA player, like he is an all-time great, and yet the idea of always being number two for so long, he was always number two to LeBron. He's number two to Steph Curry. Now he's he just doesn't even qualify anymore. So the idea that he wants to just do things differently just for the sake of doing things differently doesn't necessarily strike me as all that surprising given KD's career. So I could see him saying, you know what, I'd rather, instead of going to a big market, I'm going to go to a small market. I'm going to do a WNBA team. I'm going to do things just to change things up from what everybody expects. It seems like he's, even his responses of late on Twitter, it's almost like he's just kind of is a contrarians for contrary's sake, you know, and so I don't know if this is if this fits in line with that sort of idea or not. I mean, not that there's anything strangely atypical or whatever of owning an NBA team, but it doesn't seem like the path most NBA players choose to go to, and in that sense, it kind of fits what KD has historically done with his career.
A little bit less spotlight than owning an NBA team, right? We've seen Dwayne Wade being a part owner in the Utah Jazz, everything that LeBron has incurred by allowing the rumors to get out there.
Yeah.
I put that very specifically about him wanting to own the Las Vegas franchise that may or may not be coming, according to Adam Silver, but everybody knows is coming. This would be Durant's way of owning a team while owning a basketball franchise, while not also adopting the spotlight that necessarily comes with it, right? I mean, even with the WNBA rising, it's not owning a WNBA franchise. Like, name a WNBA owner, right? I guess Joe Lacob now owns the Valkyrie. That's maybe one of the ones that are out there. But like, very few people can name a whole lot of WNBA owners. Now, if Durant was one of them, that would change things a little bit. But it doesn't. It still doesn't come with the same sort of stuff that an NBA owner gets.
Really overprotective of their players in terms of media access and things of that sort. They just not like, I mean, Miami is like that to a certain degree, but not really. Like, San Antonio is a whole other world. And like that idea of just being shielded from that at this stage of his career, he doesn't want to deal with that. He doesn't want to have to talk as much to people. San Antonio will keep that away from him. You know, guys like Tim Duncan,
literally keep reporters away from the locker room because the back, the underbelly of the Spurs arena is a maze. It's like it's literally a maze. Like, I've gotten lost in there trying to get my way from the court to the locker room and vice versa. There's plenty of places for Kevin Durant to hide, to your point.
There's a lot baked into that, but you just trust us in that regard, that the Spurs are very protective of their players. So for a guy like KD who likes his anonymity, etc., like, he'll talk, obviously, but when it suits him. And in that sense, the Spurs are very much aligned with that kind of ethos.
Well, we're going to talk about what it would mean if the Heat miss out on Kevin Durant. It doesn't sound like Giannis is moving. And if he stays put and Kevin Durant ends up in San Antonio, where does that leave the Miami Heat this offseason? That's an episode for next week. For now, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.